Hello friends, today we are going to start the lesson 6 from the book The Magic of Thinking Big. What it says, you are what you think you are. So, what it is about, what we think, we are becoming that. You are what you think you are. It is obvious much human behavior is puzzling. Have you ever wondered why a salesperson will greet one customer with an alert, "Yes, sir, may I serve you?" but virtually ignore another? Or why a man will open a door for one woman but not for another? Or why an employee will consistently carry out the instructions of one superior but only grudgingly do what another superior requests, or why we will pay close attention to what one person says but not to another. Look around you. You will observe some people receiving the "Hey Mac" or "Hey buddy" treatment, while others receive the sincere and important "Yes sir" treatment. Watch, you will observe that some people command confidence, loyalty, and admiration while others do not. Look closer still, and you will also observe that those persons who command the most respect are also the most successful. What is the explanation? It can be distilled into one word: thinking. Thinking does make it so. Others see in us what we see in ourselves. We receive the kind of treatment we think we deserve. Thinking does make it so. The fellow who thinks he is inferior, regardless of what his real qualification may be, is inferior. For thinking regulates actions. If a man feels inferior, he acts that way, and no veneer of cover up or bluff will hide this basic feeling for long. The person who feels he is not important isn't. On the other side, a fellow who really thinks he is equal to the task is. To be important, we must think we are important, really think so, then others will think so too. Here again is the logic. How you think determines how you act. How you act in turn determines how others react to you. Like other phases of your personal program for success, winning respect is fundamentally simple. To gain the respect of others, you must first think you deserve respect. And the more respect you have for yourself, the more respect others will have for you. Test this principle. Do you have much respect for the fellow on Skid Row? Of course not. Why? Because the poor fellow doesn't respect himself. He is letting himself not away from lack of self-respect. Self-respect shows through in everything we do. Let's focus our attention now on some of the specific ways we can increase self-respect and thereby earn more respect from others. Look important, it helps you think important. Rule: remember, your appearance talks. Be sure it says positive things about you. Never leave home without feeling certain you look like the kind of person you want to be. The most honest advertisement ever appearing in print is the "dress right. You can't afford not to" slogan sponsored by the American Institute of Men's and Boys Wear. This slogan deserves to be framed in every office, restroom, bedroom, office, and schoolroom in America. In one ad, a policeman speaks. He says, "You can usually spot a wrong kid just by the way he looks." Sure, it is unfair, but it is a fact. People today judge a youngster by appearance, and once they have tapped a boy, it is tough to change their minds about him, their attitude towards him. Look at your boy. Look at him through his teacher's eyes, your neighbor's eyes. Could the way he looks, the clothes he wears, give them the wrong impression? Are you making sure he looks right, dresses right everywhere he goes? This advertisement, of course, refers primarily to children, but it can be applied to adults as well. In the sentence beginning with look, substitute the word yourself for him, your for his, superiors for teachers, and associates for neighbors. And reread the sentence. Look at yourself through your superior eyes and your associates' eyes. It costs so little to be neat. Take the slogan literally. Interpret it to say dress right. It always pays. Remember, look important because it helps you to think important. Use clothing as tool to lift your spirits, build confidence. An old psychology professor of mine used to give this advice to students on last minute preparation for the final examinations. Dress up for this important exam. Get a new tie. Have your suit pressed. Shine your shoes. Look sharp because it will help you think sharp. The professor knew this, his psychology. Make no mistake about it. Your physical exterior affects your mental interior. How you look on the outside affects how you think and feel on the inside. All boys, I am told, go through the hat says. That is they use hats to identify themselves with the person or character they want to be. I will always remember a hat incident with my own son, Davy. One day he was dead set on being the Lone Ranger, but he had no Lone Ranger hat. I tried to persuade him to substitute another. His protest was, but Dad, I can't think like the Lone Ranger without a Lone Ranger hat. I gave in finally and bought him the hat he needed. Sure enough, donning the hat, he was the Lone Ranger. I often recall that incident because it says so much about the effect of appearance on thinking. Anyone who has ever served in the army knows a soldier feels and thinks like a soldier when he is in uniform. A woman feels more like going to a party when she is dressed for a party. By the same token, an executive feels more like an executive when he is dressed like one. A salesman expressed it to me this way: I can't feel prosperous. I have to if I am going to make big sales unless I know I look that way. Your appearance talks to you, but it also talks to others. It helps determine what others think of you. In theory, is it's pleasant to hear that people should look at a man's intellect, not his clothes. But don't be misled. People do evaluate you on the basis of your appearance. Your appearance is the first basis for evaluation other people have, and the first impression lasts out of all proportions to the time it takes to form them. In supermarket one day I noticed one table of seedless grapes marked 15 cents a pound. On another table were what appeared to be identical grapes, this time packed in a polyethylene bag and marked 2 pounds for 35 cents. I asked the young fellow at the weighing station, what's the difference between the grapes priced at 15 cents a pound and those priced at 2 pounds for 35 cents? The difference, he answered, is polythene. We sell about twice as many of the grapes in the polythene bag. They look better that way. Think about the grape example. The next time you are selling yourself properly packaged, you have a better chance to make the sale and at a high price. The point is, the better you are packaged, the more public acceptance you will receive. Tomorrow, watch who is shown the most respect and courtesy in the restaurant, on buses, in crowded lobbies, in stores, at work. People look at another person, make a quick and often subconscious appraisal, and then treat him accordingly. We look at some people and respond with the hey map attitude. We look at others and respond with the gesture feeling. Yes, a person appearance definitely talks, The well-dressed person appearance says positive things. It tells people here is an important person, intelligent person, and dependable. This man can be looked up to, admired, trusted. He respects himself and I respect him. The shabby looking fellow appearance says negative things. It says, here's a person who isn't doing well. He is careless, inefficient, unimportant. He is just an average person. He deserves no special consideration. He's used to being pushed around. When I stress respect your appearance in training program, almost always I am asked the question, I am sold. Appearance is important, but how do you expect me to afford the kind of clothing that really makes me feel right and that causes others to look up to me? That question puzzles many people. It plagued me for a long time, but the answer is really a simple one. Pay twice as much and buy half as many. Commit this answer to memory. Then practice it. Apply it to hats, shoes, socks, coats, everything you wear. Insofar as appearance is concerned, quality is far more important than quantity. When you practice this principle, you will find that both your respect for yourself and respect for others for you will zoom upward, and you will find you are actually ahead money wise when you pay twice as much and buy half as many, because your garments will last more than twice as long because they are more than twice as good, and as a rule they will show quality as long as they last. When you buy will stay in style longer. Better clothing always does. You will get better advice. Merchants selling $200 suits are usually much more interested in helping you find the garments that is just right for you than a merchant selling $100 suits. Remember, your appearance talks to you and it talks to others. Make certain it says here's a person who has self-respect. He is important treatment. Treat him that way. You owe it to others, but more important, you owe it to yourself to look your best. You are what you think you are. If your appearance makes you think you are inferior, you are inferior. If it makes you think small, you are small. Look your best and you will think and act your best. Think your work is important. There is a story often told about the job attitude of three big bricklayers. It is classic. So let's go over it again. When asked, what are you doing? The first bricklayer replied, laying brick. The second answered, making $9.30 an hour. And the third said, me, why I am building the world greatest cathedral. Now the story doesn't tell us what happened to these bricklayers in the later years. But what do you think happened? Chances are that the first two bricklayers reminded just that bricklayers they lacked vision, they lacked job respect. There was nothing behind them to propel them forward to greater success. But you can wager every cent you have bricklayer who visualized himself as a building, a great cathedral, did not remain a bricklayer. Perhaps he became a foreman, or perhaps a contractor, or possibly an architect. He moved forward and upward. Why? Because thinking does make it so. Bricklayer number three was turned to a thought channel that pointed the way to self-development in his work. Job thinking tells a lot about a person and his potential for large responsibility. A friend who operates a personal selection firm said this to me recently. One thing we always look for in appraising a job applicant for client is how the applicant thinks about his present job. We are always favorably impressed when we find that an applicant thinks his present job is important even though there may be something about it he doesn't like. Why? Simply this: if the applicant feels his present job is important, odds are that he will take pride in his next job. 2. We found an amazingly close correlation between a person's job respect and his job performance. Like your appearance, the way you think towards your work says things about you to your superiors, associates, and subordinates, in fact, to everyone with whom you come in contact. A few months ago, I spent several hours with a friend who is personal director for an appliance manufacturer. We talked about building when he explained his personal audit system and what he had learned from it. We have about 800 non-production people, he began, under our personal audit system. An assistant and I interviewed every employee every 6 months. Our purpose is simple. We want to learn how we can help him in his job. We think this is a good practice because each person working with us is important, else he wouldn't be on the payroll. We are careful not to ask the employees an any point blank question. Instead, we encourage him to talk about whatever he wants to. We aim to get his honest impressions. After each interview, we fill out a rating form on the employee's attitude towards specific aspect of his job. Now, here's something I have learned. He went on. Our employees fit into one of the two categories, Group A and Group B, on the basis of how they think towards their job. The person in the Group B talk mainly about security, company, retirement plans, sick leave policy, extra time off. What we are doing to improve the insurance program. If they will be asked to work overtime next March as they were last March. They are also they also talk a lot about disagreeable features of their job, things they don't like in fellow workers, and so on. People in Group P, they include close to 80% of all non-production personals view their job as necessary, as sort of necessary evil. The Group A fellow sees his job through different glasses. He is concerned about his future and wants concrete suggestions on what he can do to make faster progress. He does not expect us to give him anything except a chance. The Group A people think on a broader scale. They make suggestions for improving the business. They regard these interviews in my office as constructive. But the Group B people often feel our personal audit system is just a brainwashing affair and they are glad to get it over with. Now, there is a way I check attitude, what they mean to job success. All recommendation for promotions, based increases, and special privileges are channeled to me by employers' immediate supervisors. Almost invariably, it is a Group A person who was recommended. And again, almost without exception, problems come from Group B category. The biggest challenge in my job, he said, is to try and to help people move from Group B to Group A. It's not easy though, because until a person thinks his job is important and thinks positively about it, he can't be helped. This is concrete evidence that you are what you think you are. What you thought power directs you to become. Think you are weak, think you lack what it takes, think you will lose, think you are second class, think this way and you are doomed to mediocrity. But think instead, I am important. I do have what it takes. I am a first class performer. My work is important. Think this way and you are headed straight to success. The key to winning what you want lies in thinking positively towards yourself. The only real basis other people have for judging your ability is your action. And your actions are controlled by your thoughts. You are what you think you are. Wear the shoes of a supervisor for a few moments and ask yourself, Which person you would recommend for a raise or a promotion? The secretary who, when the executive is out of the office, spends her time reading magazines, or the secretary who uses such time to do the many little things that has helped the executive to accomplish more when he returns? The employee who says, "Oh, well, I can always get another job. If they don't like the way I do my work, I will just quit." Or employee who views criticism constructively and sincerely tries to do higher quality work. The salesman who tells a customer, "Oh, I just do what they tell me to do. They said come out and see if you need anything." Or salesman who says, "Mr. Brown, I am here to help you." The foreman who says to an employee, "I to tell you the truth, I don't like my job much. Those guys up to the top give me a pain in the neck. I don't know why they are talking about half the time." Or supervisor who says, you have got to expect some unpleasantness on any job, but let me assure you, the men in front office are on the ball. They will do right by us." Isn't it obvious why many people stay at one level at all their lives? Their thinking alone keeps them there. An advertising executive once told me about his agency's informal training to break in new, inexperienced them men. As company policy, he said, "We feel the best initial training is to start the young fellow who, incidentally, is usually a college graduate, as a mail boy. We don't do this, for, of course, because we feel a fellow needs 4 years of college to take a mail from one office to another. Our purpose is to give the new fellow maximum exposure to many varied things which must be done in agency work. After he knows his way around, we give him an assignment. Now, occasionally, ever offer after we have carefully explained why we are started him out in the mail room. A young fellow feels that carrying the mail is belittling and unimportant. When this is the case, we know we have picked the wrong man. If he doesn't have vision to see that being a mail boy is a necessary practical step to important assignments, then he has no future in the agency business. Remember, executives answer the question, what would he do on that specific level, by first answering the question, what kind of job he is he doing where he is now. Here is some logic, sound straight and easy. Read it at least 5 times before you go on. A person who thinks his job is important receives mental signal on how to do his job better. And a better job means more promotions, more money, more prestige, more happiness. We all have all noticed how children quickly pick up the attitude, habits, fears, and preferences of their parents, whether it be food preferences, mannerisms, religious and political views, or any other type of behavior. The child is living reflection of how his parents or guardian think, for he learns through through imitations, and do adults. People continue to imitate other throughout life, and they imitate their leaders, supervisors. Their thoughts and actions are influenced by these people. You can check this easily. Study on one of your friend and the person he works for. Note the similarities in thinking and actions. Here are some of the ways your friends may imitate his boss. Here are some of the ways your friend may imitate his boss or other associates: slang and word choice, the way he smokes cigarettes, some facial expressions, mannerism, choice of clothing, and automobile preferences. There are many, many more, of course. And the way to note the power of imitation is to observe the attitude of employee and compare them with those of the chief. When chief is nervous, tense, worried, his close associate reflects similar attitude. But when the Mr. Chief is on the top feeling good, so are his employees. The point is this: the way we think towards our jobs determine how our subordinates think towards their jobs. The job attitude of our subordinates are direct reflections of our own job attitude. It's well to remember that our points of severity and weaknesses show up in the behavior of those who report to us, just as a child reflects the attitude of his parents. Consider just one characteristic of successful people, enthusiasm. Ever noticed how an enthusiastic salesperson in a department store gets you, the customer, more excited about the merchandise? Or have you observed how an enthusiastic minister or other speaker has a wide awake, alert, enthusiastic audience? If you have enthusiasm, those around you will have it too. But how does one develop enthusiasm? The basic step is simple. Think enthusiastically, build in yourself an optimistic, progressive glow, a feeling that this is a great, I am 100% for it. You are, what do you think? Think enthusiasm and you will be enthusiastic. To get high quality work, be enthusiastic about the job you want done. Others will catch the enthusiasm you generate and you will get first class performance. But if in negative fashion you cheat that company on expense, money, supplies and time, and in other little ways, then what you expect your subordinates to do? Habitually arrive late, leave early. What do you think the troops will do? And there is a major incentive for us to think right about our jobs so that our subordinates will think right about their jobs. Our superiors evaluate us by measuring the quality and quantity of output we get from those reporting to us. Look at it this way: whom would you elevate to division? And sales manager, the branch sales manager, whose salesmen are doing superior work, or the branch sales manager whose salesmen deliver only average performance?
सुरेंद्र देश हिसाब वगैरह में
Here are two suggestions for getting others to do more for you. Always show positive attitude towards your job so that your subordinates will pack up right thinking. As you approach your job each day, ask this: am I worthy in every aspect of being imitated? Are all my habits such that I would be glad to see them in my subordinates? Give yourself a pep talk several times a day. Several months ago, an automobile salesman told me about the success producing technique he has developed. It makes sense. Read it. A big part of my job for 2 hours a day, the salesman explained, is telephoning prospects to arrange demonstration appointments. When I first started selling cars 3 years ago, this was my big problem. I was shy and afraid, and I know my voice sounded that way on the phone. It was easy for people I called to say, I am not interested, hang up. Every morning, back then, our sales manager had a sales meeting. It was pretty inspirational affair and it made me feel good. And what's more, I always seem to arrange more demonstration on Monday than on any other days. But the trouble was that little of the Monday's inspiration carried over to Tuesdays and the rest of the week. Then I got an idea. If the sales manager can pep me up, why can't I pep myself up? Why not give myself a pep talk just before I start making those phone calls? That day I decided to try it without telling anyone. I walked out on the lot and found a vacant car. Then for several minutes I talked to myself. I told myself, I am a good car salesman. I am going to be the best. I sell good cars. I give good deals. The people I am phoning need those cars and I'm going to sell them. Well, from the very beginning, this self Supercharging paid off. I felt so good. I didn't dread making those calls. I wanted to make them. I no longer go out on the lot and sit in a car to give myself a pep talk. But I still use the technique before I dial a number. I silently remind myself that I am a top notch salesman and I am going to get results. And I do. That's pretty a good idea, isn't it? To be on top, you have got to feel like you are on the top. Give yourself a pep talk and discover how much bigger and stronger you feel. Recently, in a training program I conducted, each person was asked to give a 10-minute talk on being a leader. One of the training gave a miserable presentation. His knees literally shook and his hands trembled. He forgot what he was going to say. After fumbling for 5 to 6 minutes, he sat down and thoroughly defeated. After this session, I spoke to him just long enough to ask him to be there 15 minutes early at the next session. As promised, he was there 15 minutes ahead of the time for the next session. The two of us sat down to discuss his talk of the night before. I asked him to remember as clearly as he could exactly what he had thought about the 5 minutes just before he gave his talk. Well, I guess all I thought about was how scared I was. I knew I was going to make a fool of myself. I knew I was going to be a flop. I kept thinking, who am I to be talking about being a leader? I tried to remember what I was going to say, but all I could think about was failing right here. Right there, I injected. Is the answer to your problem? Before you got up to talk, you gave yourself a terrible mental beating. You convinced yourself that you would fail. Is it any wonder you talk don't come off well? Instead of developing courage, you develop fear. Now, this evening session, I continue starts in just 4 minutes. Here, what I would like you to do: give yourself a pep talk for next few minutes. Go in that vacant room across the hall and tell yourself, I am going to give a great talk. I am going to give a great talk. I have got something those people need to hear. I want to say. Keep repeating those sentences forcefully with complete conviction. Then come into the conference room and give your talk again. I wish you could have been there to hear the difference. That brief self-administered, hard-hitting pep talk helped him to make a splendid speech. The moral: practice uplifting self-praise. Practice uplifting self-praise. Don't practice belittling self-punishment. You are what you think you are. Think more of yourself and there is more of you. Build your own sell yourself to yourself commercial. Think for a moment about one of the America's most popular product, Coca-Cola. Every day, your eyes or ears come in contact many times with good news about Coke. The people who make Coca-Cola are continually reselling you on Coke, and for a good reason. If they stop reselling you, chances are you would grow lukewarm and eventually cold to Coke. Then sales would drop. But Coca-Cola company is not going to let this happen. They resell you and resell you and resell you on Coke. Every day you and I have alive people who are no longer sold on themselves. They lack self-respect for their most important products, themselves. These folks are indifferent. They feel small. They feel like nobodies, and because they feel that way, that's why they are. That's what they are. The half-alive person needs to be resold on himself. He needs to realize that he is first-class person. He needs honest, sincere belief in himself. Tom Satelli is a young fellow who is going places and fast. Tom regularly sells himself on himself 3 times every day with what he calls Tom Staley a 60-second commercial. He carries his personalized commercial in his billboard at all times. Here is exactly what it says. Tom Staley, meet Tom Staley. A really important person. Tom, you are a big thinker, so think big. Think big about everything. You have got plenty of ability to do a first class job, so do a first class job. Tom, you believe in happiness, progress and prosperity, so talk about happiness. Talk only happiness, talk only progress, talk only prosperity. You have lots of drive, Tom, lots of drive. So put that drive to work. Nothing can stop you. Tom, nothing. Tom, you are enthusiastic. Let your enthusiasm show you through. You look good. Tom, you feel good. Stay that way. Tom Staley, you were a great fellow yesterday and you are going to be an even greater fellow today. Now go to it. Tom, go forward. Tom credits his commercial with helping him become a more successful dynamic person. Before I started selling myself to myself, say Tom, I thought I was inferior to just about anybody and everybody. Now I realize that I have got what it makes to win. It takes to win, and I am winning, and I am always going to win. Here is how to build yourself. You sell yourself to yourself. Commercial. First, select your asset, your points of superiority. Ask yourself, what are my best qualities? Don't be shy in describing yourself. Next, put these points down on paper in your own words. Write your commercial to you. Read Tom Steadley commercial. Notice how he talks to Tom. Talk to yourself. Be very direct. Don't think of anyone but you as you say your commercial. Third, practice your commercial out loud in private at least once a day. It has a lot to do this before a mirror. Put your body into it. Repeat your commercial forcefully with determination. Make your blood travel faster through your body. Get yourself warmed up. Fourth, read your commercial silently several times every day. Read it before you tackle anything that demands courage. Read it every time you feel that down. Keep your commercial handy at all times, then use it. Just one thing more. A lot of people, maybe even a majority, may a majority may ho at this success rewarding technique. That's because they refuse to believe that success comes from man-is thinking. But please don't accept the judgment of average people. You are not average. If you have any doubt as to the basic soundness of sell yourself to yourself principle, ask the most successful people. You know what he thinks about it. Ask him. Then start selling yourself to yourself. Upgrade your thinking. Think like important people think. Upgrading your thinking upgrades your actions. And this produces success. Here is an easy way to help you make more of yourself by thinking like important people think. Use the form below as guide. How am I thinking checklist? When I worry, ask yourself, would an important person worry about this? Would the most successful person I know be disturbed about this? An idea. What would an important person do if he had this idea? My appearance. Do I look like someone who has maximum self-respect? My language. Am I using the language of successful people? What I read. Would an important person read this? Conversation. Is this something successful people would discuss? When I lose my temper, would an important person get mad at what I'm mad at? My jokes. Is this the kind of joke an important person would tell? My job. How does an important person describe his job to others? Cement in your mind the question, is this the way an important person does it? Use this question to make you a bigger, more successful person. In nutshell, remember, look important, it helps you think important. Your appearance talks to you. Be sure it lifts your spirits and builds your confidence. Your appearance talks to others. Make certain it says, here is an important person, intelligent person, prosperous, dependable. Think your work is important. Think this way, you will receive mental signals on how to do your job better. think your work is important. Your subordinates will think their work is important too. Give yourself a pep talk several times daily. Build a sell yourself to yourself. Commercial remind yourself at every opportunity that you are a first class person. In all of the life situations, ask yourself, is this the way an important person thinks? Then obey the answer. This was the lesson number 6, and after this we will do the lesson number 7. Manage your environment and go first class. Manage your environment and go first class. This will be the next lesson.